Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and it is time for our usual evening office hours because it's 6:30 p.m. here in Italy. It's April 6th, according to my clock. And I believe it. And so I am here to answer any questions that you have. All questions are welcome. You can ask them in the LinkedIn or YouTube chat room. You can also go to the secret URL, which is available 24 hours a day, deltacx.link/ask. That will take you into the video ask system, and you can leave a question there and mark it as to whether or not you want it for the early office hours, which already happened today, or the late office hours, which is now, just to get time zone straight. So while I wait for your questions, I will get all of my screens going so that I can put YouTube comments up on the screen. Unfortunately, I can't put LinkedIn comments on the screen. So if you like seeing your smiling face showing up on the show, you're going to have to join us on YouTube. Let's turn all that on. All right, I think we're good. So I don't have any questions yet. I see we've got one viewer, so we're just going to wait for people to slowly make their way in. If you do have questions today, please ask them early because I cannot stay late today at all. I know sometimes we run late, but I am premiering my new presentation at a private event, and that is right after this. And so I need time to set up and make sure my hair isn't too puffy and get into that. Hi, Denise. Good to see you. Hope everything's going well where you are. So this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has. And I usually stick here about an hour, though today I might make it more like 55 minutes just so I can get myself ready for the next thing. Is everyone full of Easter chocolate, or is it just me? Maybe just me. I will try to do a good job today of keeping an eye on the email for the questions that come in through the email, like these two. So all questions, welcome. Welcome to our 5 viewers. Good to see you. Come on in. Sit down. Let's see. Let's check if my effects are working. I forgot to check. Nope, not yet. Okay, there we go. Effects are working. So Steele is back. Haven't seen Steele in a while. How are you? Feel like we haven't seen you in a while. I forgot your real name, but I think we haven't seen you in a while. So I hope you've been well. And it's office hours. I'm waiting for questions. I've got not too much to talk about until people have questions. So Kayleen is asking, how are my wrists? I don't know if I put that in as an official question today or not. Jamie? Which Jamie? All right. Well, hi, Jamie. Kayleen, thank you for asking. My hands and my wrists are feeling, I would say, about 95% better. I did do a lot to try to rest them. I also switched my mouse to my other hand to try to take off the pressure on that. And I did treat myself to a new keyboard, which just shipped today. So I'll make sure to show you that in a future episode. Not sponsored. Oh, I paid for it. So yeah, doing what I can to improve my ergonomics because I'm only getting older. Other Jamie is here too. Hi, both Jamies. So let's get Steele's question up first. And let's, I always copy and paste everybody's questions so that they can go into the YouTube description. That's it. Yeah, Kayleen's giving the answer before I even gave the answer, but let's say it out loud anyway. So hold on. I've got Denise's question, and there you go. So, okay, so the question from Steele was... Here we go. Hey, Debbie, curious to know what your top 3 books are that cover the UX design process in depth rather than the design thinking process. Yeah. And Kayleen's right. I probably would be recommending Darren Hood's list of books. I am not as well read as some other people, so I don't usually like to recommend too many books because there are people out there who have read way more books than I have and have way better recommendations. So I would probably have to say go with Darren on this one. Books I remember reading that I liked. Ugh, so hard. I'm pretty picky. And I get grumpy pretty fast at things I think aren't great advice. So I'm gonna just have to go with Darren on this one. And I would say check out Darren's list. If those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, just go to Google and put in Darren Hood UX book, something like that. It'll come up. Elizabeth, I see your question. We'll get you on the list. Please hold. And thank you, Steele. Ask any other questions you have. Am I missing any secret questions? No. Okay. So let's take a look at our next question, which will come from Denise. Let's find it on my list and put it up. There we go. Denise says, what should be the correct way of experience mapping? Now, my favorite way is the task analysis. I think that there isn't a better way to map a real current customer experience than the task analysis. Of course, that's best done when we have been observing people. It's not the kind of thing that you can do from surveys or guessing. It's not as good if it's coming from a diary study or people self-reporting their steps or interviews. So I would have to say it's task analysis, and you can certainly learn lots more about that in the micro lessons playlist. I think customer journey maps could be good, but I think so often they're just done badly. I think they are not meaningful, not actionable, and too often guessed at, or too often customer journey maps are like, here's what we think people will do in the future when we've made this better. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to be a future guess. So... and Jamie, I see your question. I'll get that on the list. So Denise, I'm not sure if that covers what you were shooting for. Give me a follow-up question if I kind of answered the wrong thing. I know sometimes I misunderstand people's questions. So, give me a little help if I didn't quite get it right. But I think the correct way is observing people rather than any other method of research. And then I do love the task analysis to really understand what they're doing, and then lots of qualities and parameters around each of their steps. I'm digging it. Let's see. That's Elizabeth. Yeah, Elizabeth is the next question. Let's put that one up on the screen. Elizabeth says, hi, Debbie. Hi, Elizabeth. Have any of your thoughts changed on the quality of UX education at universities? The last time I saw you speak about it, you said University of Washington had the best program. I have not yet heard about any other programs that I feel comfortable recommending. The University of Washington master's degree, I've heard good things about from multiple people. I've met a couple of people who did it and seen their portfolios, and they seemed strong, but this was a few years ago. So I do not have the most current up-to-date knowledge, but I do know that when people I mentor or coach, or some of you ask me to go look at, hey, go look at this university's degree or certificate, what do you think of it? So far I've been like, oh, holy cats, don't bother? I have not been impressed by one lately, and I have looked at some pretty well-known names without naming names. If you do have one you want me to look at specifically, send it in. I'm not afraid to look at it and say out loud what I think. Generally, I'm looking at the curriculum, and I'm looking at who's teaching it and who any of your mentors and coaches will be. And I'll go to LinkedIn and see what their experience is. If they have a lot of years as a visual designer or a creative director and they're teaching UX, I'm usually not happy. I saw one at a very famous school recently where it looked like the first course of their UX degree was visual design, and then they got into some prototyping, and then they got into researching with users. And I was like, seems out of order. So maybe I'm just hard to please, but there you go. Hi, Charlene. Good to see you again. It's like we've been together all day. So Elizabeth, I hope that helps, but ask any follow-up questions that you have. And let's see. Charlene says, I'll send you some UK-based university. Good to know if they're any good. And again, I haven't taken these courses, so I don't thoroughly know if they're any good. I only know that I'm looking at the websites, looking at the curricula, looking at what they're teaching or who's teaching it, and making my own judgment about it. So other people will have other opinions, of course. I think our next question is Jamie. And Jamie says, when interviewing 8 individuals of each consumer type, if you're doing an app redesign for a company you don't work for, how do you find out the different consumer types? Rough guess of target audience? Yeah, so if you are doing an app redesign for a company you don't work for, then you're probably doing a portfolio project or a project you hope will end up in your portfolio. I have read tweets from some heads of designs of some of these companies that say, please stop redesigning our app. I've heard that there's some backlash against this, so I will answer your question, but I will also remind people that for some people, this is not a positive. And of course, if you put yourself in their shoes, you can probably see why. Some random person who has no knowledge of what's going on at your company, maybe no knowledge of your company's strategies or audiences or roadmap, has decided your app stinks or your app can be improved based on talking to 2 people, sometimes on these bootcamp projects, maybe 8 people. And it can accidentally look like, hey, you're fat and you're ugly and you need a haircut, and hey, I'm going to fix it. So I say be careful of that stuff because many companies aren't thrilled with that. I know some other gurus out there say, yeah, that's the way to get a job. Redesign it and send it to someone. I just imagine someone redesigning the Delta CX site and sending it to me and me being like, what? Why? Hello? So that doesn't mean the Delta CX site couldn't be better, but it's like, stay out of my stuff or ask me some questions first. So to answer Jamie's question, if you are going to try to work on something for someone you don't work for and you don't know who their customer types are, maybe pick somebody else where you do. But ultimately, yeah, if you don't know, you are guessing. And that would technically be a flaw in your research in that you did not know the customer buckets or segments or things like that. And that you are guessing. You can also do very broad research in that sense. You can say, well, look, in general, this system is B2B, and you're obviously selling to engineering managers. So I found 8 engineering managers, so you can go very broad if you want. You don't have to say, I found 35-year-old married gay engineering managers. It could just be, I just found 8 engineering managers and I interviewed people with different demographics. So I think, again, I'm going to warn, look out for that. Not everybody receives those well. I know some people think that's like a cool way to get someone's attention and try to get a job, but I think it can accidentally look a little bit arrogant. And I'm worried about us accidentally looking like, hey, your stuff's crap. So I did a little research. I'm going to fix it. So there you go. Kayleen says, good point about the redesign being hurtful to employees. Yeah, that's another thing. Imagine you worked on that project and you worked hard and you researched and you did your best. And then somebody applies for the job and goes, here's why your site stinks. And I spoke to 6 people. So I understand that we want these sample projects and practice projects and portfolio projects, but be careful of the I fixed Facebook or whatever it might be. Jamie says, thanks for the advice. What types of projects would you recommend then? I just tell people try doing broader projects. If Kayleen doesn't mind me talking about hers as an example, when Kayleen first came to me, she was thinking about doing a project for a company that had not hired her. So, and I won't say who or what industry, but very specifically, about this company and their system and how their system could be better. And my thought was, take it one step up. Forget about this company and their system. Let's just talk to, why don't you do a project that's just about this audience in general doing this task in general. Maybe it's on that company's website. Maybe it's not on that company's website. Maybe it's a competitor's website. Let's just look at what those people are doing in this space and just make it a little bit more general. And I think that's been a cool direction. You know, it's been a lot of work. Certainly, Kayleen can speak to that, but she is doing a great job. And so I think that could be a way to go. You know it. Thank you, Kayleen, for all the hearts. They're exploding on the screen. I think that can be a way to go. You know, let's say, for example, you're going to try to improve Yelp, which is an American website for trying to find good local restaurants and things like that. Instead of saying, I'm going to fix Yelp, you could do some research with how do people research restaurants online, and what do they trust and what don't they trust, and which services look good to them and which don't, and why. And so you might hear good and bad about Yelp. You might hear good and bad about Google Maps and their reviews. You might hear good and bad about other sites. And I think that would just be a little bit more broad and fair, so that it's not you going, yeah, Yelp stinks, I redesigned it. That's just a suggestion. Shrivas will put you on the list of questions. I think there's one before you, so give me a moment to copy paste. Abi, let's see. Abi has a question. Give me a second. I'm copying and pasting in slow motion. Paste. Steele says, that sounds like a research project. Yeah, a lot of these sample projects people are doing, especially when they've been hanging out on my channel, do involve research first, and then sometimes they end with research, and sometimes they do go into the interaction design, information architecture, interaction design, and other things. Jonathan is asking a very long question from LinkedIn, which is wonderful, and I am going to copy and paste it, and you will be third on the list. So I see you, and I will get to you. Thank you very much for your question. And no other questions coming in through the email, so I haven't missed those, which is super. Let me also take a quick moment and remind everybody, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, please do. Subscribing is free. Ring the bell, give us the like button so that YouTube knows this is pretty good. We do have the Slack channel over here. Oh, got too many things on the screen. We do have the Slack channel, which is totally free and has almost 600 people, though not everybody's active. I would say maybe 5-10% are active. And lurking is also welcome. And of course, I do have the tip jar, open 24 hours a day, totally optional, gives me delicious cheese. I do see another question coming in on LinkedIn, but it's not giving me your name. So I am going to apologize that I don't see your name in my system, but I am writing down your question about business acumen. So getting everything on my list, and here we go. So we are, so I skipped your question, Alfonso. Oh, I'm so sorry, Alfonso, you're right. Let's get your question in right now. Sorry, there are so many things coming up on my screen. Those who have seen my screen before know it's ugly. So let's make sure I got everybody's question in here, and we will do Alfonso next. Thank you, Alfonso, for helping me with that. I am so sorry. I never mean to skip anybody's question. Okay, so Alfonso, then Shrivas. Do you have a suggestion for where I can... No, where'd that one end up? Oh, here it is. No, and then someone was before. Oh, sorry. Okay, Alfonso, you are after. Sorry, you have to be after Abi. So, because that's the order it's in the chat room. Abi, then Alfonso, then Shrivas, then Jonathan, then unnamed LinkedIn user, then Steele again. All right, I think I got everybody. Whoo! All right. And Steele. All right. And again, I'm not staying late today, so at some point the bar will be closed and your last drink orders will have to be in. So let's roll back to Abi. Here we go. Today, when I asked one of my project owners, who's your target audience, he said everyone. Can't argue with such a client. But when he said app research is bullshit, how do I handle them? So usually someone who thinks something is bullshit has one of two or more things going on. One, they're afraid you're going to prove them wrong or the project going in the wrong direction, so they don't want you to do it. Number two, they've been burned in the past by research that made them look bad. And so the best reaction to that, which is an ego-based reaction, is to decide all research is bad because all research has the potential to make this person look bad. It is very difficult to convince that person otherwise. When people are coming from places, and I'm guessing here, of ego and self-protection, and I need to make sure I look good, it's going to be hard to convince this person that research is good. So as usual, I'm suggesting start applying and clean up your resume. But the target audience is usually not everybody. Whether or not we've made personas or things like that, the target audience is usually not everybody. I mean, very few companies have everybody. Facebook might think they have everybody. Twitter might think they have everybody, but pretty much everybody else has some sort of more narrow focus. Even LinkedIn is hypothetically not for everybody. It's for people who want to do business style networking in their business world in an online business community. That already narrows it down. And I would say many of the people on LinkedIn are probably more likely to be what we would call white collar workers over blue collar workers. And so even there, it's still not everybody. So I would probably encourage the project owner to narrow that down. If your project owner isn't giving you information, see if you can talk to marketing, because marketing and sales know who they're selling to. And it's probably not everybody. You can say to marketing and sales, who do you target? You probably have to decide when you're making your sales initiatives and your marketing efforts, who am I focused on? Who do I think is that sweet spot customer? I would say forget the project owner. This is someone who's probably hostile to UX and research, and just go talk to marketing and sales. I hope that helps. And let's see. Now, I think as promised, we've got the Alfonso. With my continued apologies. So let's see. Hi, Debbie. Do you think UX is constantly evolving, or should we innovate the innovation methodologies? I'm not totally sure what that means. In many ways, UX is not totally evolving because what we've been doing for decades still works. So I don't need a new innovation methodology because what we've been doing for decades works. In fact, research and development used to work, and everybody fired research and development because they read a book about cool lean startups and decided research and development was just too slow and expensive. Now all of them are releasing crap, and they have no sense of what's going to happen in the future because nobody's researching and developing it. So I don't think that new innovation methodologies have brought us in the right place, and I think many innovation methodologies are fake and theater. So I would say, Alfonso, if you have an example of what you think, but I would say I also warn people to stay away from the term innovation because technically innovation means something that no one has ever seen before. It truly is brand new, never been done. And let's face it, almost everything on the planet has been done before, and chances are you have the evolution of that idea. You have the next best one. You don't have the innovation. You don't have the thing I've never ever seen before. So I think we have too much pressure on ourselves for innovation. When people can't go to a website and just pay their freaking bill, I don't care about your innovation. People can't get normal things done in websites, apps, and systems. Fix that before you start your innovation theater. So, Alfonso, let me know what I missed about that, and let me know. The chat room is going crazy. What am I missing? All right, it looks like when we get to Steele's question, there's a whole conversation happening around it. So, we'll get there. What was next? Suggestion of where I can keep up with trends from UX. Who is that? There are too many things popping up on my screen. I'm not going to be able to follow this and put it up on my screen. Alfonso says that was perfect. Okay, thanks. If you have a follow-up, let me know. Am I missing emailed questions? No. Okay. So let's try to catch up with the questions and the chat room because it seems to be exploding. I don't know where this one came from, so I apologize, but it says, hello, Debbie. Do you have a suggestion for where I can keep up with trends in UX? No, because UX doesn't have trends. Visual design has trends. We're skeuomorphic, we're not skeuomorphic. We're rounded corners, we're not rounded corners. We're microscopic tiny type, we're big type. I find that, Shrivas, thank you. I find that visual design has trends, but UX generally doesn't, because we're based in psychology and behavior, and what we do doesn't really change. Now, the media for which we do it does. So, for example, X years ago, we weren't designing for smartwatches. Now, we might have to think about how this could be used in a smartwatch universe. We weren't designing touch screens for cars. Those were just too dangerous and bad ideas, but now we're doing that. So I find that the interfaces and the media change, but the UX approaches do not change. So I think in general, if someone tells you there's a UX trend, it's probably something I'm not going to be totally happy with and I'll want to burn down. I never fixed my fire today. It's all blue and weird. Sorry about that. Got to fix my green screening there. So I would say if you saw something that claims to be a UX trend, I'd love to hear what it is. We can light it on fire, but in general, UX isn't very trendy. We just have time-tested, psychology-based stuff that works, and it's just the interfaces and the experiences that change, which does require new knowledge from us on how to best design for those, and of course, visual design changes as well. Thank you. Jonathan's question from LinkedIn, can't put it up on the screen since I can't put up LinkedIn on the screen, but it says, "Hi Debbie, last week there was an article shared on LinkedIn that stated design thinking is hurting user-centered design." Yep, that person read my book and then wrote that article. No, sorry, my computer's trying to get me to restart. What fun. It was interesting to read the comments section in the article and seeing people saying things like design thinking solves business problems and identifies the right problem, while UCD only solves the identified problem. Doesn't UCD identify and solve business problems and find areas of opportunity, or am I missing something? Thanks for asking, Jonathan. You're totally right. Yeah, design thinking has a million things wrong with it. I've got so many videos on this, it's just overwhelming, I'm sure. But in general, I can't find two people who define design thinking the same way. Some people see it as full user-centered design, and therefore design thinking will solve the right problem because you're going to do user-centered design. And some people would say, no, design thinking is just a few days of doing cool exercises in a room and how might we's, and we're going to solve this problem fast. So I think part of the problem with trying to nail down design thinking as being right or wrong about something is it's kind of like trying to say religion is right or wrong about something. There are so many definitions of this thing that we just can't even nail it down. In fact, give me a second to add something to my system. Image, browse. Here's something I downloaded today that someone posted on LinkedIn, and it was so terrible I had to download it. Let's put it up on the screen. And it looked like this. And basically, it said, this is the design thinking process. Now, I've also had some people tell me design thinking is not a process. So, okay, newsflash. And basically, this seemed to list everything that someone in CX, UX, product, or marketing could possibly ever maybe do. And of course, this just seemed ridiculous. At this point, this isn't design thinking. It's user-centered design and a lot more, but why rename it? User-centered design didn't need to be renamed. I faced that when I wrote my book and I decided to not rename it. So I don't understand all these people trying to rename everything and pee on it and claim it as their own. So hey, sorry, I accidentally turned off my microphone. Design thinking is not guaranteed to solve your problem or understand your problem depending upon someone's definition of it. If someone's definition of design thinking is, let's all go in a room for 5 days, guess at a customer journey map, sketch screens, and pick a winner, You're not guaranteed to understand the problem. You're not guaranteed to come up with the right solution. So I think that's the problem there. Whereas user-centered design done well works well, and we don't have to worry about what someone's definition of user-centered design is or isn't. So yes, remember there's a lot of people defending design thinking, mostly for reasons I find bad. And I also find that when you ask somebody to prove that it works, and what was your success criteria going in, and how much money has your company spent on this, and how much money has your company made on this, suddenly there's a lot of blank faces. So I'm still not impressed, and I will continue to burn design thinking to the ground every chance I get. All right. Next question was, how important are business acumen skills and knowledge in UX, especially for an intern or junior level? This question does come up from time to time. And I think that in general, you can't go wrong knowing a little bit about different areas of companies and business. I tell people it's good to be conversational in these areas. It's good to be conversational in what DevOps does. We should have a clue of what they do. We wish they had a clue of what we did. So we should be conversational in these other areas. We should be conversational in what business analysts do, in what product managers do, portfolio managers, and people related to the business. So you can't go wrong knowing a little bit more about the business. That being said, I think that there's only so much people should expect us to know about business because we're not MBAs. Most of us did not go to a business school, and so we are not well versed in corporate strategies and corporate initiatives. And of course, we also usually have no power to change these if we think they're crap or unethical. So I think that you can't go wrong knowing a little bit more about business. I think you can't go wrong knowing more about what engineers do, different types of engineering jobs. You can't go wrong knowing more about a little bit about these things, not to take over these people's jobs or step on their toes, but just so that you know what they do and you understand a little of their day-to-day and what their common concerns are and some of the things they focus on. You would want them to know that about you. So I do think knowing a little bit more about business and business initiatives and how business tends to make decisions would be important, because I think for UX people, it will explain a lot. And very often business decisions are not really made in a customer-centric way. They're made in a business-centric way, which is where we end up in conflict. So I'm going to be pushing especially hard this year on more customer centricity in companies, because ultimately your customer decides if your product is crap or not. I don't decide. The engineers don't decide. The agile coach doesn't decide. The stakeholder doesn't decide. The CEO doesn't decide. If we all think we did something great and the customer hates it, the customer's right. The customer wins. We can't be like, you're wrong, it's wonderful, you're an idiot. So I think that we should understand a little bit better why businesses make some of these decisions we see as being so weird. But I think the answer is they're not customer centric. All right, how's that? I think this might have been Steele's question that led to all of the hubbub. Let's see. Yes, this was from Steele. So Steele wrote, would you not want to demonstrate solving a problem rather than presenting some discoveries and pain points? I will demonstrate solving a problem, but first I will discover and find pain points. If you do not find the right problem, you probably have not solved the right problem. So it's important for us to do additional research to understand the problem better and see if it really is the problem. Otherwise, all of the solution-focused efforts, whether they're super cool workshops or us trying to do our regular work, these might all be going in the wrong direction because we didn't spend enough time getting the problem right. Larry Marine, Nielsen Norman, all the people at least that I respect are out there reminding us that we have to find the right problem before we solve it, because too many companies are guessing at our problems and then trying to solve those, and it's crap. So let's see what conversation unfurled in the chat room after that. And Shriva said, link to Slack again. Yeah, deltacx.link/join Slack. Steele said, I would be concerned it's seen as too general. Kayleen said, yes, I was surprised Deb suggested a research project. I wasn't expecting to pivot from a design project. Kayleen said, but I've learned design without research involves guessing. Steele said, I understand that. It's just that I have 3 portfolio projects that are already very research heavy. Okay, but then what did you do with that research? So take the research you did and now show us what you can design, unless you're only looking to work as a researcher and you don't want to work as an information architect or interaction designer. If you don't want to do that, your portfolio doesn't have to show that. But if you want me to see that you can do those things, they've got to end up in your portfolio, and I would want them to be informed by good research. Steele says they've got a small bit of UX design at the end, so I might think at best you do a small bit of UX design. They're all corporate projects. I feel like I need to demonstrate something different. Okay, but don't demonstrate guessing at a problem without first understanding it. You either need to do the research first, or you need to have gotten good research from somebody else, and that's not a survey. Steele says, I've been working as a UX lead. I feel that strategy is my strength, but continually having to take visual design tests in each interview. Yes, stop applying to any job that expects you to be a visual designer unless you also want to be a visual designer. I just don't apply to those jobs anymore. I don't even want to play the game. And of course, in my new HR training that is finally out, I am telling people to stop assessing people for visual design when that shouldn't be part of their job. Shrivas says, thanks for the answer. I was thinking the same thing. A job I applied for wanted me to know trends in mobile and web design, but also trends in UX design. Yeah, I think that what happens is people who don't understand that UX has this whole psychology side, and they see the art and visual design side, they think, well, art's got trends. Art, we did drop shadows on everything. Then we didn't do drop shadows. Like UX must have trends. And usually I just tell them what I told you, which is visual design has trends. And I try to stay on top of what those are and which ones I'm for and against and which ones are accessible and which ones aren't. But UX is generally not trendy because we're based in human behavior and cognitive psychology, and that's not trendy. Oz is here. Good to see you, Oz. Oz says, it seems like customer centricity is disappearing. Customer service is more and more on Twitter and emails that die in a black hole. How can we reverse that trajectory? They make it easy to spend money, but nearly impossible to get any kind of real help. Yeah, I agree. And that's why, especially this year, more than the last 2 years, I'm going to be pushing customer centricity in all areas of a company. I think that over the last X years, especially with Agile, a lot of companies have thought that we just have to do, Agile. And that pushed people towards fast, but low quality. And I'm trying to get people to wake up and realize that the low quality thing really hasn't worked, and that we have to start with, number one, better quality products. If we had better quality websites, apps, systems, things like that, you wouldn't need so much customer support. You wouldn't need help. You wouldn't need training or tutorials or something like that. So number one, I'm trying to not knock everything off my desk with my foot. I'm trying to inspire companies to make something better the first time. That's not easy, but I'm going to try it anyway. So how far UX patterns are right to follow? Abby, can you explain that, please? While I continue speaking to Oz. And I don't see any questions in email today, so if you've sent one, it has not come in. So if you're using deltacx.link/ask, I've not seen it. Also for people on YouTube, just a quick plug, since I don't have any ads on videos, I do appreciate any donations that you choose to make, totally optional. But if you are interested in using a super chat, super sticker, or one of our paid memberships, I greatly appreciate that. It funds my delicious purchases of cheese. And it will drop something fun in this little tip jar. So thank you for that. So yeah, I agree with Oz that a lot of customer service dies in a black hole, and that just has to do with people at all levels of the business not really caring about the customer. They just think, they'll figure it out. They'll learn to use it. They'll stick with us. They're pretty loyal. It's everybody being way too complacent, patting themselves on the back and telling each other lies. And I'm still trying to burn it down. Abby says, why reinvent the wheel to follow something which is already there? I don't know if that's a real question or a rhetorical question. Very often we're not reinventing the wheel. So I'm not too sure about your question. Oz says, let's put him up on the screen because he's always got a great hat. I also think the hype and hocus pocus around AI is pushing a belief that AI is the answer for frustrated customers, but it's making things worse. I'd agree. Every couple years, everybody thinks we have some new savior. It was going to be phone voice systems, and then it was going to be chat bots, and now it's going to be AI, and it was going to be blockchain. And it's like we keep thinking we have this great new savior, but I haven't seen any of these things turning out to be what everybody thought they were going to be. And maybe they will be in the future, but I still think they are not ready for prime time. Okay. Kayleen has, I think, a rhetorical question, but let's say it out loud and let's answer it. Why are their employers demanding weird and bad things from UXers looking for work? Now, having just released an entire training for HR people to kind of answer that question, and of course you can find the shortcut there at deltacx.link/HR-training. That will take you to the completely free HR training program I just released. So I would go with Charlene's answer on that, which is they don't understand it. So yeah, when you don't understand what we do, who we are, why we do it, and that what we do is much more psychology than art, you ask us to do really stupid things like show us a visual design portfolio for a research job. I've seen a lot of that. Sorry, that was Steele who said they don't understand it. Thank you. I thought it was something from Charlene came up at the same time. I apologize. Yeah, I think that if people understood what we did, everything would change. And if people understood what we did and held us accountable, everything would change. Right now, very often when projects go bad at companies, nobody says, hey, which part of this was UX's fault? We're not even held accountable. We're like not even on people's radar. So I would say that people need to understand us better, and then they really need to hold us accountable. I want to be able to be fired if I do a bad job. I want to be fired if I do a bad job. I kind of want you to be fired if you do a bad job. I kind of want everybody faking it until they're making it to be fired if they're doing a bad job and if they're getting what they need to do a good job. That's what my training says. My training says if you are giving us the time, budget, people, and resources we need to do a good job, and we're not doing a good job, but we got what we needed to do a good job, get rid of us. That might be a bad worker. Many of us are not doing our best work at our jobs because we didn't get the time, the budget, the resources. So if we're being held accountable, you would have to then see that we didn't get that. You'd have to give it to us. So yeah, so Chang's put, yeah, we got anger. Anger didn't come up, but dog did. So here's dog. Let me refresh it and get every emoji up on the screen at the same time that everybody's posted so far. Let's get them all. All right, that's not all, but that's some of them. Yeah, so Steele and everybody, if you're ever interested in, oh, good, here they all come. If you're ever interested in what I think on a particular topic, just go to YouTube and type Delta CX words, interview, challenges, something like that. See what comes up. Lots of stuff. Abby says, oops, to paraphrase, there are various design patterns to address common UX problems, so why rework on that similar problem? Is that okay practice? I don't know if I'm putting it together. Curran, I see your question too. You'll be next. So Abby, I would say if the design pattern is good and right and works for the situation, try it. Take it to usability testing. Don't just put it in and go, well, this is a common design pattern, it must be fine. We don't know until we see it in its context. We don't know until we see it working in the scheme of everything else we're making and test it on our real or potential or representative users. So it's fine to use common paradigms. I'm not against that. I'm not saying you have to reinvent wheels, but I would say don't just assume that those are going to be okay because they're common paradigms. Still take things for testing. So thank you. Let's take a look at Curran's question. Hold on, let me copy and paste it. And again, just a heads up, we've got about 10 minutes left together. So last questions should be coming in now so that I can make sure that I get to them before we have to run. And then I'm going to be talking for an hour and kill my throat. Steele, I see your question. I will get that on the list. Okay, Curran says, let's put him up. Boom. I'm making the career transition from UX to UX UI from graphic design and currently networking and applying to jobs. What are some good questions to ask those who are currently working? So do you mean to ask while you're in an interview or to ask other people for advice? Or to ask the person who's interviewing you? Can you give me a little bit more color around that? And meanwhile, I'll start to work on something that answers the next question. So hopefully Curran is still here and can give me a little bit more color around that. Maybe. All right, let's quickly answer Steele's question while we wait for Curran to give us some information. And Steele's question was, do you still do portfolio reviews? Yes. Basically, you have to watch video number 54. You have to fix your portfolio first and get rid of all of the most common mistakes I see people making. I do not want to give you a portfolio review and just tell you to fix the same mistakes everybody's making. Fix those first. Send me the best possible portfolio. Then go to this link, deltacx.link/portfolio-review. That will drop you into my calendar. My calendar will invite you, but you're not coming. I will review your portfolio privately over the weekend, probably looking sleepy and raccoon-eyed. And I send you the video privately. It does not go up on YouTube. You get one for free, and if you need more than one, you can pay for the second one. Curran says, yes. Informational interviews, advice, working in the tech industry. I've never done this work, so I don't know what areas to ask about. Does that make sense? Okay, so you haven't, if I understand correctly, you haven't worked in UX yet, and you are looking to transition from visual and graphic design, and you kind of don't even know what you don't even know. So you're looking to learn more about how you should learn more. You might want to start with my playlist in the Delta CX YouTube channel about, I think it's called Learning UX and Career Transition. And I've got a whole bunch of videos in there about, it starts with, so you want to work in UX. So I would say maybe look in that playlist and that will start to give you some ideas about different things. But as for working in this industry, I think one of the first things you can try to figure out through maybe some videos or reading or talking to people is which part of what we do you think you want to learn and get into first? Because you can't really become an expert on everything right away. you might have to start somewhere. So, here's the user-centered design process. Do you think you want to be more of a researcher? Do you think you want to work more in content strategy or writing? Do you think you want to work more in information architecture and interaction design? Do you want to work more, research goes with testing. I'm not good at this. It's in the air. I can't see it. So you might want to even figure out, where do you start? And so it might be good to watch some of the videos, keep asking questions, ask other people about what they do and how they feel about it. But don't be surprised if you hear some sad things, because our industry is a bit of a mess right now. Wilson says, if only YouTube has those commands like you can set from Twitch, where someone can ask a common question, you can type in ! interviews. Yeah, it's close enough. If you just go Delta CX, UX interviews or Delta CX interviews, you should get everything I've ever recorded. So, give it a try. You're welcome, Curran. Good luck with everything. And subscribe here, because we talk about this stuff all the time. I'm going live 5 times a week and putting up pre-recorded content. It's all free. I've turned off all the ads. So, you're here now. Alfonso is back and he wants me to know it. Let's take a look at Alfonso's question, and then we might have to call this one the end. I think I'm going to be out of time for more. Already subscribed. Great, thank you. I think we'll call Alfonso's question the end, just so I can make sure I don't run out of time, because I really have to get ready to go talk for an hour. Oh, I'm going to need my chloroseptic. # not sponsored. All right, Alfonso says, hi, Debbie, it's me again. Well, hi, Alfonso, it's me too. I would like to know, how do you keep updated or focused in terms of professional growth? And if so, how do you document your progress, and do you have any recommendations? Okay, so I don't document my progress. That just happens to not be my style, but it could be somebody else's style. As for how do I keep updated or focused in terms of professional growth, for me, what I've tried to do is find ways to work with the people I admire most. I admire Larry Marine very much. And so I worked on a project with him last year, and now I'm learning a lot more about task analysis and optimized task flow, and I'm trying to teach everybody what I'm learning. I admire Deborah Gill Hesselgrave, who's been on our show, and I'm working with her on a project now. There's always ways to learn from the people who we admire. I'm hoping someday to work with Darren Hood and Dr. Nick. These are very talented, capable people who I know will have something different that they do that I can learn from. So I'm not documenting this, but I am always trying to figure out ways to try to work with some of these people who I admire and who I think might have different styles, and something that I can learn from. So that's my thing. But again, I'm not in a corporate environment. Nobody is giving me a form to fill out about where do I hope to be next year. Yeah, I work for me currently. Nobody will hire me out in the corporate world. So of course I'm doing Delta CX as my agency, and luckily we've been getting some projects here. So that's keeping me eating delicious cheese. That and you, the audience. And thank you to the audience. In March, you gave me $35 of donations, with which I have bought delicious cheese. So the cheese here is, I've done it. I've knocked everything off my desk. I relaid out my desk over the weekend, and now I'm knocking everything off my desk. So I'm going to say my new layout is a downgrade. Hi, honey. No, thanks. My boyfriend thought that was a cry for help, because he's very nice and he's a low ego action hero. You're welcome, Alfonso. This is not my boyfriend, but he is a low ego action hero. This is our dog, Diana. And if you follow my dogs on Instagram, you know Diana climbed a fence this weekend and was going to take a 12-foot jump over it, and didn't, because I started yelling at her. So you can follow my dogs on Instagram and see their ridiculous adventures. So I'm going to start wrapping up because I've got to get talking to an audience. of agile coaches, I believe. I think they're agile coaches and scrum masters. I spoke to them last year and they invited me back. So I said, good, I will rewrite my talk and hit them over the head with something even harder. Grr. It means I might have to fix my fire. Let's fix the fire. All right. Well, thanks to everybody for making this great. And remember that every Tuesday I do office hours Ask Me Anything. I'm currently experimenting with doing 2 of these a day. I do one of them at 10 a.m. Italy time to get people east of me and slightly west. And I'm also doing it at 6:30 p.m. Italy time, which was an hour ago. For people in other time zones, more west of me. So come on and join in. It's always free. Again, all the YouTube videos are free. I've taken off all the ads. If you ever see an ad on a YouTube video, please write to me because there shouldn't be one and I would be mad. They are all turned off. What else can I tell you? Tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow is going to be a little bit more on the task analysis and the optimized task flow that we started yesterday as part of our micro lessons. So go over to the micro lessons playlist in YouTube and you can pick up on the fake observational research pseudo project we've been working on together to learn a little bit more about observational research. We have some comments from Larry Marine, so that will be something I can add tomorrow. Aftab says, I've been in the UX research field for about 3 years, now combining an internship and full-time. I feel like I'm lacking academic experience because of the competitive research workforce. Would you recommend a master's degree? I will take that as the last question. Thank you, Aftab. So, in general, I have found that some research managers do prefer to see master's degrees from researchers. So while in general, I don't believe that people who work in CX or UX must have a degree or must have a master's degree, I do believe that in research that can sometimes help you get ahead because people want to see that you have done statistical analysis and some of the things, or proper, what's the word I'm looking for? Like proper research study, planning and design. So I think you can't go wrong with a master's degree that's relevant to UX research. Be very careful where you get that from. I'm not thrilled with a lot of universities out there. And some of them saying they're teaching UX research or teaching I don't know what. So, look at them very thoroughly. Look up the instructors. But I think in general, there are many managers who do prefer to see a degree for UX researchers. A degree for other jobs in CX and UX usually isn't as important. Sometimes jobs ask for it, but only because they don't know it's important. So I think, do I think I don't think it'll guarantee you a job, but I do think there are workplaces where that master's degree will help. I don't think a master's degree ever hurts, but not everybody has the time and money for it. So we just have to remember that. And if we want a diverse workforce, not everybody got a master's degree. We have to remember that and care. All right, I'm going to get out of here and get ready for my talk. And thanks to everybody for dropping by today. I hope we'll see some of you tomorrow for the continuation of the micro lessons. If not, of course, everything's always archived on the YouTube channel. This will be in the office hours playlist. Tomorrow it'll be in the micro lessons playlist. So let's keep on keeping on. Everybody, please be safe and healthy. Wear that mask. Stay away from humans. Don't have a barbecue. Don't go to the beach. Hang out with me on YouTube. It's free. So thanks again to everybody and good to meet some of you new people. And I'll see you again very soon.
Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation